Welcome to EO Talks, Eastern Oregon's very own talk show, only here on EO Alive.
My name is Tim Harrold, and I'm running for governor of Oregon. I'm running as an independent with no party affiliation. Absolutely no Democrat, no Republican, no independent party of Oregon. Running as a true independent with absolutely wanting to owe nobody other than the people of Oregon. So that's why I chose to run as an independent. I've been an independent for about 20 years, maybe a little bit more than that. And have always voted not with any kind of party, but with what I felt was the best for all of us moving forward. That's how my voting ticket has always been, and that's how I plan to run things as governor. So that's why I'm running as an independent.
Awesome. Tell us more about your background, what you do professionally, and if you have any public service experience.
Yeah. Professionally, I'm an operations manager for a security company. I've been in the police and security industry for 27 years. Spent 5 years as a police officer. I've spent 22 years working in the security industry. Started in California, went to North Carolina, and now here in Oregon. Been in Oregon since 1998, and have been in the security industry almost the entire time I've been in Oregon. I've worked my way up from boots on the ground. I wasn't the type of manager now that I am because I took tests and read a lot of theory. I've rose through the ranks of my career because I went out and did it. I learned a lot by actually out there going and doing things. So that's how I have progressed through my entire life, is by going out there and doing things. And so that's what I'm going to bring to the office. So now that I've done that, as far as public service is concerned, I don't have public service, but I think that is okay. What I do have is a career of solving problems for people. That is what my career has been. I have over 20 years of leadership experience in my profession, and that is a lot of having to solve other people's issues. You get called a lot when you're in supervision in my profession to try to solve issues in the moment and try to forecast long-range problems that are going to happen. And so that is a lot of what governing is. In my opinion, the professional politicians have put us in the place that we are in. So not having the experience of a professional politician, to me, is not the worst thing right now. So it's going to take someone who has practical experience looking at things like I have as boots on the ground, but the management experience and supervisor experience that I have of fixing things. But also not having looked at it through the eyes of a politician. And I think that is going to be a good thing moving forward. Sure. Personally, born and raised in California, was born in the Bay Area down in Hayward, California. My dad worked for IBM, which stands for I've been moved. So you move around quite a bit. And we moved around the Bay Area, moved down to San Antonio, Texas for a couple of years, but always ended up back in the Bay Area, ended up down in Silicon Valley, down by San Jose, in the small town of Morgan Hill, California. And that's where I kind of did most of my growing up. Moved out to North Carolina, became a police officer out there, and that's where I met my wife, who happened to be an Oregonian. And when we decided that we were going to have a family, we wanted to do it on the West Coast. And she said, we need to do it in Oregon because it's a wonderful place to raise a family. So we came out here. We had our daughter, Tiffany, and we raised her here in Oregon, and it has been the greatest experience. And I fell in love with Oregon, and I became an Oregonian, honestly. I am from California, went to North Carolina, but now I'm an Oregonian, and that's what I do by heart. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I want to leave it better than I found it. I think that, this is one of the things my dad taught me. We're talking about personal backgrounds. My dad was an old Alabama farm boy who was also a Navy veteran that was in World War II in Korea. And, he kind of had a way about him when it came to leaving things better than you found them. And I thought that only meant, like his tools in the garage. But I've come to learn that meant people and places. And Oregon was this great place that I come, to love over a period of time when I first got here. But then I saw how things are happening lately, especially in our political structure, So as I've gotten older and as my daughter has, moved on, and now that she's older and graduated and moving on with her life, I want to make sure that I leave it better than I found it. And so that's kind of my mission at this point. But, that's a little bit about me. Yeah, sure. Dundee is kind of a small town of about a couple thousand people right outside Newburgh in Yamhill County. It's just outside the Portland Metro. I've been living in the Portland metropolitan area and working in that area ever since we've been here in Oregon since 1998. But I've always liked living in the smaller areas like Newburgh and Dundee. I kind of grew up in that a little bit out in California. I lived in the urban areas when I was younger, but through my, junior high school and high school areas, we moved to the smaller towns. So it was kind of a place where I wanted to raise our daughter. And my wife grew up in West Lynn, where it was a smaller town back, way back when. So that's what we wanted to have. So I enjoy Dundee. Dundee is a great place. There's a lot of wineries around, but I actually don't drink wine. Kind of interesting fact. But it is a really nice place to live, and it's growing. There's a lot of development going on around here, and so there's a lot of people moving here. But it really is a really good place to live. Well, yeah, there's a lot of issues people are talking about. And, it depends upon region. You go to a lot of different areas of Oregon. Oregon is a great, kind of a mixture of its parts. You have Eastern Oregon, Central Oregon, Southern Oregon. You have the Willamette Valley. You have the Portland Metro. You have the coast. So it's kind of a great sum of its parts. And that was one of the great things about Oregon when I first came here. So as I go around, you really have to listen to the differences in the actual areas of Oregon, because it's not the same in the Metro as it is, say, down in the, Klamath Basin, or same as it is out in, Hermiston or La Grande. It's going to be very different. So you have to go out there. You have to make stops. You got to do that. And as governor, that was one of the things that's on my agenda, is to be mobile. One of the things that the pandemic taught us was that we can conduct business anywhere. And as a governor, I can conduct business in La Grande. I can conduct business in Baker. I can go down to Klamath Falls. I can go anywhere I need to. Bend, which actually is the number one telecommute city in the country. I can go anywhere. I can go to the coast. I can go down to Gold Beach. I can go down to Florence. I can conduct business down there while meeting with the people of those cities as governor and figuring out issues that we have going on. Or if we have something going on like the bootleg fire or anything like that, I can go out on site and be governor there while I'm supporting those people, and also, keep up with my everyday work. So that's one of the great things. But as I've gone around, I've heard a lot of things. I haven't gone down there yet, but I want to go down to Klamath Falls. I've had a lot of interaction online with some people from Klamath Falls with their water issue that is going on right now. One of the big things when I was out in when I was out in Eastern Oregon lately, out in Hermiston, we were talking a lot about the forest fires. So we have a good forest fire plan that we're putting together, and then we talk about the Metro. We talk about, the law enforcement issue, about how we're going to work with law enforcement, and about how we're going to support law enforcement. I'm a big supporter of law enforcement, being an ex-police officer, but I also understand that we have to have training in place. But we also need more cops on the street. It's not working, when they defunded them, that's not working. So we need to make sure that we get the right police officers on there. We need to make sure that they're trained correctly, but we also need to make sure that they're tasked correctly. And, and that's a big thing going on right now in the Metro. But again, what's going on in the Metro is not necessarily, a priority that's going on someplace else. So Oregon has to be governed by someone who understands that Oregon is a sum of its parts, but those parts need to be looked at as separate issues. And so that's one of the things that I'm really discovering as I'm getting around. The low-hanging fruit on that one would be Lewis and Clark. To be honest with you, they've being the pioneers, being the ones that stepped forward, the ones that weren't afraid to make that path for everybody else. And that's kind of how I've been in my life. Not afraid to take that path, not afraid to be the one that will step out of the norm Lewis and Clark are kind of people that I look to and have always admired. Spend some time, at their museums and other things like that. Those two really embody, how I live my life and how I think life should be lived, that exploration. And Oregon is really a great state that really embodies who they are. So, and I think that, we need a leader that is very much in that same mindset of what Lewis and Clark were. People who can be innovative, someone who can step in and not just go, okay, well, this is business as usual, who can take a look at problems and not just do the same thing everybody's been doing, but also kind of take a look at things in an innovative aspect, kind of like Lewis and Clark did. So, yeah, so they're kind of, somewhat of the first Oregonians outside of course, the native people that lived here before. But, as far as settlers were concerned, they were the first ones that were here, but they were also the ones, in my opinion, that were just the brave ones that really kind of came outside the box and really, stepped up to really do something nobody else has ever done. And to be honest with you, as an independent, that's what I'm doing, is I'm stepping outside that box to see if I can do something that has never been done, which is to be the first independent governor of Oregon. Yeah, I don't really, I do have a set of faiths and beliefs that I really believe in. I keep that really close to myself. I believe that faith and belief is personal for everybody. And I believe that, we can, all come together with that and let people do as they do. I believe that, I've been to a lot of different places and churches and a lot of different organizations. And I go and I visit a lot of different people of faith and things like that. And I think that, every one of them brings value. I think that every one of them has their place for the people who worship with them. And I am very open-minded for people that do that. And yes, I do have that. And I hold it very, very dear to myself. And I am a very big man of faith. And I believe that, I am a very big man of faith. I don't get too deep into it, though, because it's a very personal aspect of myself. But understand that I have a very heavy set of values. I believe in taking care of people from that set of values. And I do believe that that we should take care of each other and that we should look out for one another. And that's what we should be doing and not having all this division. Yes, I think there will be. I think there'll be quite a bit of criticisms. I think the criticisms of the lack of experience. And like I said before, I think that the lack of experience, not being a professional politician, will be just fine. Professional politicians are what put us in the position we're in. People with high degrees and all that kind of thing that don't understand who we really are as people. Sure, they can look at things in theory, but have they really experienced what we've experienced? So, they can sit there and say, well, he doesn't know how to navigate the political system, or, he doesn't have, a high degree, or he doesn't have this or that. But that's fine, because I've succeeded without those kind of things. And, my track record will prove, that I can do the job, and that it's not a problem, that we can solve these issues. And when we sit down in the debates and other things like that, we will definitely find out exactly who will be the best one for the job. So I'm not worried about that. Some of the other stuff, an independent, not having a party, I think that they will, talk about that. But that's fine, because we're building an infrastructure right now of people that are getting behind me. My political advisor right now is a gentleman by the name of Jay Townsend, who was George W. Bush's political advisor during his 2 campaigns. He was also the GOP spokesman for 12 years. He is now not affiliated with the GOP. He is a independent political consultant. So, and he is an independent now himself. So, I'm pulling people from sides of the aisle that you wouldn't think that an independent like myself could start pulling people. So, so it's one of those things where we're starting to get a lot of people on board in our infrastructure right now that I didn't think was going to be possible, but it is possible. It's a uphill battle right now, but I think we got it. And some of the criticism is going to be that, again, without the party there, without the infrastructure there, without the allies there, I'm not going to be able to do what they think is going to be needed. But we're building that, and we're going to come out and we're going to show that when it comes time. So I'm not worried about that.
So first up, ducks or beavers?
Oh, beavers. I'm sorry. We'll go with the beavers. So
Right.
I grew up in the Bay, so I'm going to say this, Stanford. So anyway, but if it's ducks and beavers, I go with the beavers.
Alrighty. What's your favorite Oregon landmark?
Favorite Oregon? Hug Point.
Okay.
So
What is your favorite Oregon beer?
oh man, not a beer drinker. I'm not a drinker. I'm sorry.
That's all right. We won't hold it against you.
Yeah.
All right. What is your favorite place in Eastern Oregon?
My favorite place in Eastern Oregon. Hermiston. I have friends there. It's a nice small town. I love that place.
It is nice. Great watermelons, right?
Go to my website, harroldfororegon.com. Take a look at what we're doing. Go to the Facebook page, Harrold for Oregon, and also the Instagram, Harrold for Oregon. We're going to be doing some great things. It's about you guys is the reason why I'm running. It's not about me. This is not a thing. I'm not a career politician. I'm just not. I'm a person that solves problems, and I'm a person that gets things done. And that's what I want to do, is go get things done. One of the other things I'm going to do is I'm going to expose what it is that they're doing. So we're going to go through the budget. We're going to go through a lot of the laws. We're going to go through a lot of the things that they're doing, and we're going to drag those out there in the middle of the public, and we're going to get it done. So, we're going to revamp the education system to make sure that we have enough money to make sure that our teachers are well paid. So they are been vastly underpaid. There's a lot of professions that, in my opinion, that are paid much more than our teachers, that our teachers should be getting paid a lot more than. So, it's the same thing when we start taking a look at getting our talent in our law enforcement communities, in our emergency management communities, such as firefighters and stuff like that. We need to start taking care of those people. Those are the people that are the backbone. So, but we also need to start taking care of our communities that are vulnerable. So, and that means that we need to start bringing in business into those communities, and not by gentrifying those communities. And that's what's been happening. And they haven't been very, the cities and counties and the state haven't really looked at how they can bring business in without gentrifying communities. Well, I have a plan for that. And we're going to give tax breaks to companies that are going to bring in their businesses, but they're going to hire people that have been in those communities for 10 years or longer and retain those people, instead of bringing in other workers, forcing people to move and raising everything there. So we have a lot of things that we're working on right now. I have a lot of policy writers right now that are jumping on board, that we're getting things done with. So it's going to be very exciting to see what we can do, not just, in the metro, but we're doing it all over the state. So, I look forward to it. Again, go to harroldfororegon.com. There is a link in there if you want to hit it. If you have a suggestion for me to come and meet with you guys, if you have any meetings or anything like that, I'd love to come to it. So just invite me. And as my calendar opens up, I'd be happy to come out there.